They had absolutely no idea you were this sharp until you suddenly flipped the whole table over. You're quite the architect of chaos. There are whispered warnings about you circulating in rooms you've never even entered. Okay, sunshine, stay with me for a second, because what I'm about to tell you is going to land like a sucker punch wrapped in silk, and I need you to actually let it sink in instead of swiping past it like you swipe past everything else these days. So, somebody out there had to learn the hard way. And oh, what a lesson. They underestimated you, not just your intelligence. That'd be forgivable. But everything, every peculiar, perfectly sharpened piece of what makes you, you. All the storms you've walked through barefoot, all the abilities you quietly sharpened in the dark without so much as a press release. And if they could have peeked behind that curtain before they came at you. Most of them, would have simply walked away, quietly, quickly. But no. They assumed they were the smartest person in the room. A room, by the way, you'd already mapped out. They saw you looking calm, looking composed, looking like you had every thread neatly tied, and something in them, something small and bitter and desperate, thought, how dare they look that unbothered? So they tried to prove they were better than you by pulling at your seams, by poking and prodding for some kind of leverage, some tiny crack. And now, today, this week, this very breath you're taking right now, they're sitting somewhere with that look on their face. You know the one. That beautiful, bewildered, wide-eyed, oh no look. Because they're realizing you were running the whole operation the entire time, and they still don't know how far down the rabbit hole actually goes. Here's how the whole comedy always begins, cupcake. Somebody wanders into your orbit, and they're, oh, so friendly at first. Warm smiles, pleasant pleasantries, the whole performance, because that's the window where they think they get to study you. Funny thing is, hilarious, actually. You are already studying them. You've got this delicious little trick where you read people before they even register they're being read. First conversation and you'd already assembled the entire dossier, full profile, zero effort, like breathing. And on top of that, you've got this pattern recognition, this wiring that honestly makes people uneasy when they finally clock it. They'll do something small, trivial, forgettable. Then weeks later, months later, they'll do something else, completely unrelated, they think. And somehow, you stitch it all together. You take a throwaway comment from 3 months ago, a suspicious pause from last Tuesday, and suddenly the whole conspiracy crystallizes before they even know they're conspiring. You spotted the ambush before the ambushers tied their boots, and you've got all this knowledge, stacked, cataloged, cross-referenced, about manipulation, about psychology, about how people operate when they think nobody's watching, because you had to learn it, not from some dusty textbook in some sterile classroom. From the trenches, sweetheart. From actually living it. But nobody ever really tries to know the real you, do they? They wallpaper their own fears over your face. They project their own mess onto your silhouette. And meanwhile, you're sitting there 10 steps ahead, almost embarrassingly humble about it. Half the time, not even clocking how razor-sharp you actually are. So this person, this bold little adventurer, got a front-row seat to their own spectacular unraveling. Is this really working for you? Let's try a dangerous approach. They want you silent. My book teaches you how to scream louder than them. Check out the evolution of the anomaly. Grab it from the description or pinned comment of this video. Anyway, back to the madness. The whole time, the whole beautiful, chaotic time, they thought they were getting one over on you. They thought you were naive. They were giggling about you behind your back, whispering to other people, saying, "Oh, they have no idea. They think this. They think that." And every single syllable of it? Fiction. Lies stacked on assumptions, stacked on more lies, like a tower of wet tissue paper in a windstorm. And the wild part? The absolutely delicious part. The second they started spreading stories about you to other people, you already knew. You don't always know how you know these things, do you? Sometimes you're standing near somebody. They say one sentence, one, and you just feel the static crackling off the words and go, "Yep, that one's a threat." That's the thing that genuinely freaks people out about you. Treasure. That's the thing that makes them fidget in your presence without understanding why. Their knees go weak and their confidence goes weaker. And because this particular person wanted so desperately to fully humiliate you, they ended up humiliating themselves instead. Poetry. Pure, unscripted, beautiful poetry. And now they're pacing back and forth going, how do they know this? How did they figure that out? Who told them? Some days they'll grudgingly admit you're just that sharp. Other days, their ego crawls back into the driver's seat, and they convince themselves you must have had help. Somebody must have been slipping you intel, and here's the thing. They're not entirely wrong, are they? You do have help. Ha ha ha. Call it intuition. Call it instinct. Call it that little voice in the back of your skull that never ever sleeps. But it's real, and it's been co-piloting your life since day one. Sometimes it's not even knowledge in the traditional sense. Sometimes it's a dream that hits different. Sometimes something inside you trips an alarm, a full body, "Don't trust this." And you get a weird crawling feeling around a person, and a week later you find out exactly why. That's not luck, gorgeous. That's a frequency most people never learn to tune into. And people, slowly, reluctantly, with a sort of nervous reverence, are starting to realize you are absolutely not the one to come for. Now, here's the part that actually matters. And I mean matters. There's a group of people out there right now, not lurking in bushes, nothing unhinged, but genuinely fascinated by you, studying how you carry yourself, how you navigate the absolute tornado of your own existence. And they can't stop bringing you up in conversation. And the word that keeps surfacing over and over like a coin that won't stay at the bottom of the fountain, is intelligent. Not just clever, not just book smart. Intelligent, in a way that unsettles people who can't quite decode it. And by the time we're done here, you're going to understand, really understand, exactly why they can't stop whispering your name. Because it comes down to two things, two habits so deeply woven into who you are that you don't even notice how rare they make you. Imagine a blade buried under years of rust and dust, darling. Most people walk by and see scrap metal, dull, forgotten, not worth the trouble. But somebody who actually knows craftsmanship, they pick it up and feel the edge still humming underneath. That's you, your quietness. The way you don't beg for the spotlight. The way you move through life without demanding a standing ovation. None of that is softness. That's the real signature of a mind operating on a level most people don't have the clearance to access. And only the ones paying close, careful, almost obsessive attention ever catch it, and picture one more scene. A room somewhere, or maybe less of a room and more of a frequency. A group completely locked in on your signal, and your name comes up. Somebody asks, "Have you noticed what they do when everything goes sideways?" And everybody nods, because yeah, they've noticed. They've been watching you go through real things, not hypothetical inconveniences, not surface-level setbacks, the kind of chaos that actually rearranges a person's entire wiring. And instead of falling apart the way most people would, and I say that with zero judgment, because truly, most people absolutely would, you did something different. You handled it. You absorbed the hit, recalibrated, and kept moving. And that right there is the first thing that's got this whole group buzzing. Reason number 2, emotional intelligence. And I don't mean the motivational poster version of that phrase, the kind people embroider on throw pillows. I mean you actually understand emotions, yours and everyone else's in the vicinity. You read a room the second your shoe crosses the threshold. You read a person in about 4 seconds flat. You can even read your own internal weather patterns better than most people ever learn to. You've got this maturity that honestly makes people who lack it feel a little exposed around you, like they showed up to a formal event in sweatpants. You stay balanced even when everyone around you is absolutely unraveling. You've got this quiet discipline of figuring out what an emotion is actually trying to communicate instead of just reacting to it like a marionette on tangled strings. And underneath all of that, you're deeply empathic. You feel for people, big heart, beating loud. And this group, they notice it, and honestly, they respect it more than they'll probably ever tell you. The people paying real attention aren't drawn to the loudest voice in the room. They're drawn to the ones who listen until every other sound fades out. That's you, sugar. Maybe you felt like a stranger in every room your whole life. But here's the twist, and it's a good one. They're not ignoring you. They're absorbing everything about you. They describe you as wise beyond your years, borderline unsettling how deep you go. You speak from somewhere most people never learned to reach, a depth they didn't even know existed. And here's the part that'll really get them squirming. They watched you go through actual difficult situations, including with people who were not kind to you. People who tried to provoke you, to diminish you, to knock you off your axis, and make you messy and reactive and desperate. And it didn't work. They threw everything they had at you and came up empty. And this group watched the whole performance unfold like a slow-motion demolition. Except you were the one still standing when the dust cleared. Everybody else was playing tic-tac-toe. You were conducting an entire symphony without even glancing at the sheet music. Your emotional intelligence let you see straight through every game, every trick, every little trap. You could see the whole battlefield even while you were standing right in the crossfire. Somebody specific, tried to mess with your self-image, tried to crawl inside your head and redecorate, convince you that you were less than you actually are. And instead of shrinking, you held on to a steady, immovable sense of your own worth. That's not luck. That's a fortress you built brick by brick, on purpose over time, with bruised knuckles and no blueprint. And this group noticed you never let yourself get pulled down to their level, never turned vindictive, never turned destructive, even when any reasonable person would have said you were completely justified in doing exactly that. Some of what you walked through, Petal, that would have shattered plenty of people. would have sent them spiraling into a collapse so heavy you could feel it from 3 zip codes away. But this group watched you take a step back and look at your own situation from a higher vantage point instead. You let yourself feel things, fully, honestly, without letting those feelings hijack the steering wheel. You stayed present enough to actually navigate the wreckage instead of drowning in it. There's a specific energy you give off, a quiet intensity that makes people in the know very, very curious about your next move. That's rare starlight. That's the kind of thing that makes a room go dead silent and everyone collectively think, wait, how are they going to handle this one? Because your calm isn't accidental. It's engineered, whether you realize it or not. There's also this sense, this palpable, unmistakable sense, that you went through a full metamorphosis. An older version of you had to dissolve, fully, completely, no trace. So a stronger, more honest version could step into the light. You walked through the inferno and came out the other side, loving yourself more, not less. Which is the exact opposite of what a lot of people expected, and maybe the exact opposite of what certain people were banking on. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: nobody volunteers love. Some people don't wound you by accident. Sometimes people actively try to muffle your signal because your frequency was drowning out theirs. Your growth was threatening. Yeah, it was a whole problem for them. And when that scheme backfires completely, when you emerge more yourself, more grounded, more luminous than you were before, that's what this group keeps calling stunning. Absolutely stunning. I'll be straight with you. Most people can't sit with what you do because it forces them to look at their own reflection. And they really, really don't want to see what's staring back. What you're doing isn't overthinking. To the trained eye, it's high-level pattern recognition, dressed in casual clothes. Maybe you've dealt with real anxiety, real fear, real 3 a.m, chest tight, brain running laps. How am I going to survive this moments? Maybe you're still walking through some of that right now. But even in the thick of it, this group sees you leaning back into your own instincts, reaching for the aerial view instead of letting the fear swallow you whole. They see you as brave, somebody marching straight into the fog instead of running from it. Some of you have naturally become healers without even trying, without filling out an application. You've got a way of talking about your own healing that helps other people mend too. Through what you say, what you create, how you show up when someone's having the worst chapter of their life. You might already be a guide for people without needing a title or a certificate or anybody's permission. And that's part of why this group respects you so deeply. You took your pain and turned it into something useful, a tool, a gift, instead of just something heavy you drag behind you. And number 2, yeah, the one that really seals the whole thing shut. Because emotional intelligence alone, that's a serious weapon. But what really has this group captivated is that you pair it with practical intelligence. You're not just floating around in your feelings like a balloon with no string. You take action. You make sensible, clear-headed decisions. And there's some kind of rare combination at work. Deeply intuitive and completely grounded. If you only had the intuitive side, people might have dismissed you. But you're not scattered. You're not chaotic. You take what your gut whispers, what your instincts scream, and you construct something real with it. That combination, that exact, specific combination, is why this group keeps calling you intelligent. Not just sensitive, intelligent. And there's another thing worth mentioning, Firefly. Think about how much of your life you spend reading a room before you even set foot in it, calculating what's safe to say, safe to want, safe to feel out loud. That takes real intelligence. Most people don't even notice they're doing it. You do. Some part of you has been aware the entire time, managing everybody else's comfort while quietly shelving your own needs, like their last season's inventory. And this group has noticed that pattern too. Instead of judging you for it, they see exactly what it cost you, and exactly how strong you had to be to keep showing up kind while carrying all of that underneath like a second skeleton. They've noticed something else too. You're persistent, genuinely, remarkably, almost stubbornly persistent. You've dealt with people who kept coming at you, kept trying to break you down, kept trying to provoke some kind of reaction, trying to prove they had leverage, they had control, and you didn't crumble. Every single time they tried, they walked away empty-handed. It only proved how solid you actually are. Think about it. If you were easy to topple, they wouldn't have needed so many attempts. The proof is in the repetition. The first 100 tries didn't land. That's not coincidence, Buttercup. That's your resilience showing up as hard data. And somewhere, sometime, something shifted in you. You stopped waiting for the outside world to hand you stability like a gift and you had to earn. You started manufacturing it yourself, from the inside out. And that right there, turned you into something like a lighthouse in your own life. Steady, visible, impossible to ignore. And people, of course they did, noticed. They're noticing that glow, too. Because that's just how it works. Get grounded, get calm, get sure of yourself, and you start attracting people and circumstances that match your new frequency. Cause and effect, beautiful. What you build on the inside eventually materializes on the outside. Always does. It's just a matter of when.